let's get into this. One of the most taboo subjects out there, and this transcends socioeconomic status. So it doesn't matter whether you got a ton of money or not really all that much money. Sort of regardless of your financial status, the notion of talking to your kids about money is often a tricky subject and certainly has some taboo with it, if you will. And we see it all the time at the office at Nelson Financial Planning. It takes many forms. Sometimes it takes the form of the next generation simply not being aware of the existence of certain accounts, to the next generation being sort of ill-equipped to handle their own finances, let alone a potential inheritance. I suppose that's one of the many reasons why we wrote the book Next Gen Dollars and Cents, a bit of a guidebook on all things financial, ranging from taxes to saving to retirement. If you follow us on YouTube, we're holding up a copy of the book now on our YouTube channel. That book is, as always, available free anytime you schedule that initial conversation at our office at Nelson Financial Planning. So make sure you go to our website and do that right now at nelsonfinancialplanning.com. So talking about those challenges that people face when talking about money and to their kids. And we want to give you some concrete suggestions about how to maybe break that taboo and provide a better insight into money and finances in general. And there are two sort of primary reasons why you want to engage in this conversation about money with your kids. First is sort of the obvious one. It's not really, finances is not really an integral part, unfortunately, of what is taught in the school system these days. So you have an opportunity when you engage in that conversation with your kids about money to teach them and help to put them on a path towards self-sufficiency, responsible stewardship of money. And we all hear the stories, and certainly we've heard plenty over the years at Nelson Financial Planning of how ill-prepared and how bad the decisions can be by folks making bad choices about their money, right? Whether it's racking up credit card debt or going off on sort of ill-timed adventures. I remember one particular situation when an individual inherited some money, thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and quit their high-paying job that also had a pension with it, and they decided to start a franchise. And don't get me wrong, it's fine to start a business, but if you've never run a business, then maybe you don't give up your well-paying job and pour hundreds of thousands of dollars of an inheritance into a venture in which you don't really have any experience. Needless to say, the end result of that did not turn out well. So, important considerations on just being able, having the conversation about money with kids really helps to give you an opportunity to help educate them as well. And then the second important reason to engage in this conversation with them is it does help to provide perspective as it relates to the money that they will get from you, right? They're going to get it, or whatever's left over after you're done using it, because, of course, everyone dies. The statistics, though, aren't particularly great. Something like 96% of all inheritances are fully spent in 18 months. Let me say that one again, because it is a pretty shocking statistic. 96% of all inheritances are fully spent within 18 months. That's not good. And if you've got an opportunity to engage in conversation, maybe you can help prevent that. And then similarly, the next generation does need to know where the bodies are buried, if you will, on this, what accounts you have, where those accounts are. Far too often we run into stories about how kids are kind of in the dark and wind up spending a lot of time sort of chasing after accounts or chasing after lost safe deposit boxes. We've got one situation that actually is directly on point with that right now. And because we help our clients engage in these conversations at Nelson Financial Planning, I mean, we really do like those real sort of intergenerational meetings where we sit down with the parents, the kids, and sometimes even the grandkids and talk through things. And because of that, we don't see these issues quite as much, perhaps, as in general society. But those the power of those types of conversations, I suppose, is one of the biggest roles that we at Nelson Financial Planning serve in terms of being able to sit down and have those conversations with our clients. So wanted to give you some tips then against this backdrop of sort of why it's important to help kids understand about money, certainly not anything that they're learning, and then important to provide perspective. We've got 3 tips that we're going to go over in this segment now about how to sort of broach this subject. And I guess the first is the obvious, to clear the air, if you will. Acknowledge that talking about money is going to be a tricky conversation, and you want to engage with your kids in this discussion openly and honestly. And this provides them and you the opportunity to, sort of express concerns, ask questions that you might otherwise not really be comfortable asking. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to seek out good educational information. Here the internet can be both your friend and your foe. The internet is obviously a great starting point to learn about issues, but financial issues, for the most part, require much more in-depth analysis and discussion than just a 30-second video or, a 4-sentence summary courtesy of AI. Shameless plug for our book, I suppose, Next Gen Dollars and Cents. Many of our clients have shared this valuable resource with their kids, and the feedback has been overwhelming in terms of folks that find it as a good resource. So much, in fact, that later this year, we're going to be publishing a companion workbook to our book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents. Give it to have that workbook run in parallel with our book, to give folks the opportunity to work through some specific exercises to really help them understand and get a better handle on what their finances will be. So stay tuned, obviously, for that. It means that I actually need to get going on creating the workbook. Number 3 is I've started. I wouldn't have said it on the radio if I hadn't started quite. So anyway, number 3, clarify expectations, right? Maybe there are things that you want your money used for when you are gone, and things that you don't want it used for. Maybe you want them to use it to pay off the debt rather than go on a vacation. And then I suppose if you really want to put some guidelines on that money that the next generation is going to inherit, then that's where you would consider using a trust. I think that the simplest way to describe that, or where that would come into play, is at the end of the day, we like to, when we're describing a trust to clients, we like to use the expression of, you need a trust when you don't trust your kids. That's the point of the trust, is to schedule out and to framework out some guidelines in terms of the future use of that money. So obviously these are good conversations to have. Stephanie and I have had these on a personal basis with our 3 boys, sort of talking about finances, talking about good stewardship of money, charitable giving, and those kinds of things. Certainly a real opportunity to teach and to share and to provide insight. And hopefully that has given us the opportunity to provide some perspective about money, whether that be charitable giving, to, trying to live below your means, and ultimately use that to achieve financial independence over their lifetimes. That's why I like getting the calls like I did this past week from Nelson complaining about the cost of his car repair bill. And I'm like, well, a couple $100 is not that bad, bud. So, anyway, we hope you've had the opportunity to have this conversation with your kids. Obviously at Nelson Financial Planning, we're here to help with that, from resources like our book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents, to spending time meeting with you and your next generation to talk through all of this. Make sure you take an opportunity to really have that conversation with your kids. With that, we're going to take a break here on Dollars and Cents with Joel Garris of Nelson Financial Planning.